What if one day you woke up with the absolute certainty that what you see isn't the whole story? What if you understood that there's another way to see, not with your eyes, but with something much deeper? This isn't fantasy or a mind game or a nice metaphor to sound good. It's a truth hidden behind layers of fear, programming, and collective amnesia. Today we're going to cross that line. Welcome to the forbidden technique to activate the third eye, the true gateway to inner vision. Since ancient times, cultures from all corners of the world have spoken about this invisible eye. The mystics of India, the priests of ancient Egypt, the initiates of schools that no longer exist, they all agreed on the same thing. There is a center in the human being capable of perceiving much more than the physical. It not only sees forms, it senses vibration, intention, and truth. In India, it is called the Ajna chakra. In Egypt, the Eye of Horus. In Western esotericism, the Eye of the Soul or clairvoyance. Different names, the same doorway. So the uncomfortable question is inevitable. Why was this knowledge hidden? Why did it become dangerous? The answer is simple and quite unsettling. Because when you see with the third eye what is, and the truth, when it can't be manipulated, becomes a threat to any system that needs people to stay asleep. Activating this center is not a spiritual trend or a weekend mystical curiosity. It's an act of conscious rebellion. It's about reclaiming your energetic sovereignty. It's about stopping living under filters imposed by a system that fears intuitive, free, and hard-to-deceive people. In this video, we'll get right to the point. What is the third eye really? How was it revered and then silenced for millennia? And above all, how can you activate it in a practical, safe, and powerful way? No secret initiations, no ridiculously complicated rituals. You don't need a guru in a robe or expensive incense. Just 3 things that are already within you. What are attention, intention, and presence? Get ready, because once this portal opens, there's no turning back. Reality starts to reveal layers you didn't see before. Coincidences stop seeming random. The signs start to speak to you, of course, and most importantly, you start to remember, because the third eye doesn't take you to something new. It brings you back to who you always were, to the you that knows, to the you that observes from the soul. Are you ready to look beyond? Then stay, because what comes next could be the beginning of the most important awakening of your life. Long before modern science reduced perception to electrical impulses and chemical reactions, ancient civilizations already understood something. The human being has an invisible organ designed to see beyond form. That organ exists. It is right in the center of the brain, between the 2 hemispheres, the pineal gland, but its function goes far beyond the biological. For the ancient sages, it was the dwelling place of the soul, the eye of consciousness, the beacon that illuminates what cannot be seen with the senses. In Hinduism, the Ajna chakra, the so-called command center, is located on the forehead between the eyebrows. And no, it's not a coincidence that it is represented as a 2-petaled lotus. One petal symbolizes the logical mind, the other, intuition. In Tantric yoga, it is taught that from this point, the soul observes the subtle plane of existence. When the ajna is activated, not only are energies perceived, but the reasons behind things are also understood. You no longer just see, you know. In ancient Egypt, this ability was symbolized by the Eye of Horus, protection, power, and clear vision. Its internal geometry contains proportions that still amaze modern science today, such as the Fibonacci sequence and the golden ratio. But that symbol wasn't just decorative, it was a map, a visual code that represents specific parts of the human brain, especially the pineal gland. Nothing was placed at random. It wasn't a pretty ornament or an aesthetic symbol for ancient temples. It was an encrypted manual, a direct guide to inner awakening. And not just in Egypt, the Western esoteric tradition also made it clear, although with different names. The alchemists spoke of the inner eye of the heart, the Rosicrucians of the inner light, the Christian mystics of the single eye of the soul, repeating the phrase attributed to Jesus, "If your eye is single, your whole body will be full of light." That eye is not literal, it's symbolic. It speaks of unifying perception, of moving away from constant division, of stopping seeing the world in opposing fragments. And when that unification happens, something changes. Reality no longer feels solid and rigid. It becomes vibration. It stops being a simple succession of events and turns into a dance full of meaning. But as time went by, this knowledge didn't disappear. It was hidden. Not because it was useless, but because it liberated too much. Collective control needs obedient bodies and disconnected minds. The third eye does just the opposite. It activates discernment, ignites willpower, and reconnects you with the original source. That's why it was labeled as dangerous, heresy, and fantasy. Not because it didn't work, but because it worked too well. Today, in the midst of digital noise, constant distractions, and false lights that promise a lot but give nothing, returning to this knowledge is not a spiritual trend, it's an inner calling, a reminder from the soul. Inner vision can't be bought, it can't be imposed, it is cultivated, and this is where the real power lies. It has never really been closed, only asleep, waiting for someone to decide to awaken it. And that awakening begins now. To understand how to activate the third eye, you first have to break a very common idea. It's not something strange, exotic, or foreign to you. It's not a spiritual accessory. It's not a superpower reserved for a chosen few. It's part of your original design. It's like a closed flower in the center of your mind. It was always there, just waiting for you to stop, to look inside, and to breathe. The third eye is not a physical eye, it's a center of energetic perception. Biologically, it corresponds to the pineal gland, a small pine cone-shaped gland located exactly in the center of the brain, between the two hemispheres. And no, that position is not a coincidence. In many cultures, it's said that this is the point of connection between the human and the divine. The pineal gland secretes melatonin, regulating sleep and internal rhythms. But according to ancient texts, it is also capable of producing a deeply visionary substance, N-dimethyltryptamine.
Methyltryptamina.
A molecule that many call the spirit molecule. Modern science still debates its exact function, but there's something important you should know. You don't need to consume anything external to access that perception. The channel already exists, what's missing is activating it, and that is done by consciously directing your attention. How? With intention, with breathing, and with a specific technique. First, there's something important you need to know. The third eye isn't designed just to see visions. Its real function is to reveal what's behind appearances. It's the center of clarity and deep discernment. Activating it doesn't mean hallucinating. It means seeing with more depth what's already in front of you. The hidden emotions of others. The signs that life repeats to you over and over again. The invisible patterns that govern your own story. The technique called forbidden isn't forbidden because it harms humans. It's forbidden because it transforms them, makes them less manipulable, more intuitive, more connected. And that, in a system based on control, is a problem. Here's where the first step comes in, creating a field of silence. The third eye doesn't open in noise or in haste or in constant saturation. It needs stillness, but not just external stillness. It needs internal silence. That silence that appears when you step out of the autopilot of thoughts and enter a real state of presence. The second step is focus, not forcing the mind, not tightening your thoughts, but vibrational focus. Sustained attention without tension. Now gently bring your attention to the center of your forehead, without tension, without effort, just presence. Imagine a violet light that starts to pulse there. You don't need to see it with your eyes closed, just feel that it's there. It's a light that doesn't look outward, but inward, like a lighthouse that turns and illuminates you from the soul. The third step is rhythm. The third eye responds best to conscious, cyclical, orderly breathing. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, stay empty for 4. Square breathing, ancient, precise, effective with each cycle. Imagine that this breath feeds the light in your brow. The light begins to move, to spin like a small galaxy, awakening. Each spin dissolves a veil. Each exhalation releases a learned lie, until suddenly something changes. You're no longer imagining, you're remembering how to perceive without your eyes, how to feel from your deepest core. This is just the first part of the process, the preparation, the lighting of the beacon. When the third eye begins to activate, the change is subtle but definitive. You can't look the same way again. There's a glow behind objects, a silence that speaks in empty spaces, a vibration in words that used to pass by without leaving a trace. It's not fantasy, it's the first access to subtle vision, to that dimension that was always there, hidden. Not because it's invisible, but because it's too obvious. Activating the third eye is just the beginning. The real work is maintaining that perception. Like any muscle, the Achana needs consistency, practice, and patience. Many get lost looking for fireworks, lights, colors, spectacular visions. But real vision is not loud. It's deep, silent, and sometimes uncomfortably honest. One of the first signs of real activation is this. You start to feel the emotional and energetic truth of people. Someone says one thing but gives off another. Your body becomes a fine-tuned radar. You distinguish the mask from the gesture, the intention behind the speech. And listen, this isn't to judge, it's to understand. Seeing more doesn't make you superior. It makes you more responsible, more compassionate, because you understand that everyone, without exception, is navigating layers of unconsciousness, and now you can see them. But this new vision also brings challenges. The first is spiritual ego. When the third eye opens, the ego tries to take over the experience. It feels special, enlightened, chosen. That's where many go astray. The true seer does not seek to stand out. He seeks to serve. Seeing more is not a reward, it's a sacred burden. The second challenge is excessive openness. If the third eye is activated too quickly or without grounding, insomnia, anxiety, or disconnection from the physical can appear. That's why balance is key, especially with the lower chakras, especially the root chakra. Spiritual vision must be grounded, otherwise it becomes avoidance. It's like turning on a very powerful flashlight. If you don't hold it properly, it dazzles more than it illuminates. So, how do you stabilize this perception? First, daily ritual. Better a few minutes every day than long, sporadic sessions. At dawn or dusk, focus on the space between your eyebrows. Breathe in silence that keeps the channel clear. Second, vibrational discernment. Start choosing more consciously what you listen to, what you watch, what you consume. Everything either nourishes or clouds your vision. If something dims you, observe it. If something expands you, cultivate it. Third, symbolic record. Keep a notebook, not to write everything down, but to capture patterns, recurring symbols, colors, phrases. The universe speaks in metaphors. The third eye translates them. However, if you're listening to this, write it down. There is only one eye. Congratulations, are you one of those who truly wake up? Fourth, bodily anchoring. Vision is not separate from the body. Yoga, conscious movement, walking in presence. The more you inhabit your body, the clearer the vision of the soul becomes. Do you remember this? To see more is not to see strange things, it's to see the same things, but more deeply. The world doesn't change, you change, and from there, everything takes on a new meaning. The veil has been lifted, but the journey continues. Living with your third eye open doesn't mean isolating yourself from the world. It means inhabiting it more deeply, seeing the invisible in the everyday, perceiving the essence behind the form. In a word, living awakened. And to sustain this vision, there's a final key: mindful attention without judgment. Because what you begin to see inside and outside yourself won't always be comfortable. Shadows within you, clear patterns in others, false structures you used to trust without questioning. This is where many people stop, not because they can't see, but because seeing hurts. And yes, it hurts, but that pain is not the end. It's the beginning of liberation, the exact moment when you stop living on autopilot and start living from the truth. The first piece of advice is simple, but non-negotiable. Integrate what you see into the way you act. There's no point in having vision if you keep doing the same thing. If you notice that a relationship is based on manipulation, just observing it is not enough. Move if you feel that your job is extinguishing your inner fire. Make the adjustments you can. The third eye is not spiritual decoration. It's a compass. It sets the direction. But walking is your responsibility. Responsibility. Second tip, protect your energy as you would protect your home. When you see more, you absorb more. Your energy field becomes more sensitive, more open. Constantly exposing yourself to dense environments, toxic news, or draining people can dim that newly lit light. This isn't isolating yourself from the world, it's discernment. Salt baths, cleansing meditations, harmonic sounds. Turn your body and your space into a vibrational temple, not for spiritual aesthetics, but for energetic hygiene. Third tip, don't get obsessed with phenomena, colors, presences, messages, sensations. All of that can show up, and many people get stuck there, believing that's the goal. It's not. The purpose of the third eye is not to see strange things, but to remember who you are. Everything else is just signs along the way, not the destination. Fourth, use your vision to serve if you start to perceive what others can't see yet. It's not to show off. It's to support others. You can become a beacon, not with grand speeches, but with your presence. Sometimes, looking at someone from the soul is enough for them to feel seen for the first time in their life. Fifth, patience. The third eye doesn't open all at once. It's a flower. It opens with the sunlight of your daily intention. There will be days of clarity and days of fog. Both are necessary. It's not about forcing the vision, it's about allowing it with humility. And remember something essential. You're not looking outward, you're looking through yourself. Every image, every sensation, every message is a reflection of your own consciousness. Don't be afraid of what appears, embrace it, because that's where you'll discover something profound. There is no separation between you and the universe. There is only one eye, the eye of the spirit, awakening to contemplate itself. This whole path leads to a fundamental truth. The third eye is not a gift, it's a sacred responsibility. Awakening, it doesn't make you superior. It makes you more aware, more connected, more intertwined with life and its symbols. Have you crossed an invisible but real threshold? And on the other side, there are no promises of power. There are calls to presence, to integrity, to compassion. We have explored together the mystery of the pineal gland, its connection to inner light, the practices that activate it, and the challenges of sustaining that awakened vision. And now, you know something? The key? The forbidden technique isn't forbidden because it's dangerous, but because it gives you back the ability to see without intermediaries. And in a world where many prefer the comfort of not seeing, opening your eyes becomes an act of rebellion. But what does it really mean? To see? It means perceiving what's beneath the surface, discovering the invisible web that connects events that seem isolated, to understand that every encounter, every word, every emotion has a deeper vibrational root. To see is to enter the sacred geometry of existence, to recognize that nothing is out of place, that even chaos has a pattern, that even pain brings a lesson, that the universe does not conspire against you, but with you. This awakening does not come as a mystical, fleeting moment. It is built in every conscious choice: silence over judgment, compassion over reaction, presence over distraction. The third eye is not an escape from the world. It is a portal to live it more intensely. Now you know there's no turning back. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't pretend ignorance. And that's a blessing, because in this new state, even the smallest thing becomes a sign. The whisper of the wind, a glance, a number that repeats itself, a tear without any apparent reason. Everything is a message, reminders that you are on the path, that you are ready, but don't walk alone. Share this vision not by imposing, but by inspiring. There are closed eyes, waiting for a touch of awareness, a word, a story, a look that reminds them of what they have forgotten. You can be that beacon if this message has resonated with you, if something inside has awakened. I invite you to subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and share this video with other seekers like you. Not because of algorithms, but because light grows when it is shared. Remember, it's not about seeing new things, but about seeing with new eyes. Open your vision, live with clarity, let your inner gaze always be a bridge to the sacred. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.